Hi, my amazing planner friends. It's Jess from My Magical Planner, and I got a question a couple of days ago on one of my short Inkvent calendar videos asking how do you fill a fountain pen? And since I know there are a lot of newer people to the hobby, I myself am not like an expert or anything, but I thought it would be useful to show you a couple of different things on how to fill your fountain pen. The first of which I wanted to talk about was cartridges. So you can buy cartridges for most any fountain pen. It's what I use in my pilot penmanship because it just works really easy. Some pens don't have converters. I'm not sure if I can buy a converter for this one. I probably can, but I haven't looked into it too much and it didn't come with one. So with this pen, you have a little ink cartridge here and it'll come like this in the box, completely full of the ink that you want. And all you really do is you push it in to your pen so that there's a little seal here. It's usually like a thinner layer of plastic. So you have to kind of give it a nice push that'll push through the back portion of your pen and into the ink section so that it can go into your pen. Now, there are some people who, instead of buying new cartridges, will use something like this, which is a fountain pen ink syringe to refill these cartridges, and then you can just reuse them. So know that that's an option, and we'll assemble this in a second, and I'll show you what it looks like. But when you are buying cartridges, it is important to know if your pen takes a specific type of cartridge. So some pens, like the Pilots, need the Pilot ink cartridges. Other pens, like I believe my Benu, will take a universal cartridge, which is more like what I have here from the Esterbrook's. And these are usually a little cheaper. These have more ink. You know, you just kind of have to look around at that, but this is a quick and easy way to get started in the fountain pen hobby, and it's just really nice and like I said, really easy. These are really portable. You can take them wherever with you. I will say that I do use this pen a lot, and I go through one of these cartridges probably every 2 to 3 weeks. So it can get extensive in that regard. And this box, I think, cost me $14 if memory serves. So just know that going into it with the cartridges. It is going to be more cost efficient to do something like an ink bottle because you're not paying for the extra plastic of that vial. So that's your first way of filling your pen. The next way we're going to talk about involves my Twsbi. So Twsbi is a piston-filled pen, which means it has a piston in here. You just kind of rotate the back portion here to bring that piston up and down. You'll start with the piston in the downward position. So you've pushed all the air out of it. And then you'll submerge your nib into your bottle of ink. And while it's submerged, you'll slowly pull back on this. I always get confused about which way I'm supposed to turn. Sorry. And as you pull it back, it will pull the ink into the pen, kind of like if you had like a vacuum kind of sucking it in and that type of thing. So that's the first way to fill this particular pen, and any piston-filled pen that has an internal mechanism like this. Now, Twsbi is unique in that they offer this. So this is a great tool if you're filling from like ink samples or you're getting to the bottom of your ink bottle, because you do have to submerge the whole nib in order to fill it. But they make this, which I can't remember the name of it. I call it the ink straw, and I don't think that's the official name, but it always makes me think of a straw. So I will look up the name and put it here for you guys. But essentially what you do with this, and this is the Twsbi 580. I don't know if you can do this with the other versions of Twsbi, but I think you can. So all you do with this is you take the nib off, you put this in place of the nib. So now essentially you've got a really long syringe, and you immerse the tip of this into your ink and do the same mechanism and pull it back. It's really, really handy. These are like $10, I want to say. It might even be less. I bought it last year, so I don't exactly remember, but it's come in handy and I really like it. It is metal. I will say that if you use this to fill and then you take it off, not thinking about the fact that there is still ink in this portion, it does make a bit of a mess. So I do suggest pulling it out. It will, with tension, keep the ink in here as long as you keep that seal. So what I tend to do is I'll lift it up and then I'll pull back just a little bit more. Like I'll leave some room there so I can pull what's in this portion out and then disconnect it. That way I don't have like a huge ink mess. As the seal is broken, it'll just come out. So there is the Twsbi, which I love these Twsbis. Now, they are different than their baseline. It is a little bit more of an expensive Twsbi, but you can switch out the nibs on these, just so you know. I don't think you can do that with the cheaper versions. But that's the 580. Now let's talk about converters. So this is what you're going to get in most of your pens, is just this little converter portion. And it works the same way as that piston one there. And that you're going to twist it all the way down and then pull back to fill up that area. Most people will just, like I said, submerge the tip in, pull it back that way, and that works just fine. The other way to fill a cartridge like this is do what they call a syringe fill. So we're going to assemble this one. There are a bunch of different types. It's essentially a blunt-ended needle. This particular one is made to work with fountain pens, so you can do it one-handedly. That being said, it does not clean the best, but they were like, I don't know, less than $1 a piece off of Amazon. So it comes like this. You have 3 parts. You have the syringe kind of filler part, the needle point, and then this converter piece. So all you do is I put it in the wrong way. Sorry. No, that was the right way. So you push this portion in, and then you add this to the end. There we go. So it's all together like that. You put it in your ink, you push down on this, and it will spring back and like fill your area in here. And then what you do, you'll have your cartridge. You'll have the end all the way, like the plunger end all the way to the back. And you'll simply put it inside there and fill by releasing the ink again by pushing down on this. And that's really, really easy. That's not going to work. Sorry. I highly suggest doing that method if you have a vanishing point. The vanishing points are really hard to fill. So when you're filling a vanishing point, you do need to take this portion out. They are really hard to fill. Now this one is already full, so I'm not going to take it out because it would make a huge mess. But essentially it is a cartridge similar to what we have in the Jinhao, only with Pilot's proprietary mechanisms and stuff. Because of where your feed hole is, which is all the way back here. I don't know if you can really see that, but that's where your ink goes in to fill. So you have to submerge that entire portion to be able to get it fully into the pen. And a lot of times, like, it'll have just the smallest portion in there. And I don't know if it's me or what, but if you take out, okay, you guys are going to get a small preview here. I do have a new vanishing point coming. I haven't released that video yet though. So we're going to take out the middle mechanism of this one. And so this is what it looks like in there. And again, you're just going to pull this all the way back. And then you would just, with the mechanism here, you're not going to be able to fully put your syringe in here. But if you put it over this area and push down, it's going to fill that. And it's not going to be an issue. So that's how that would work. And then you just push it together like that. And I do suggest, like, if your ink isn't flowing, because sometimes it's going to take a minute or two for it to work its way down. If it doesn't, you can kind of give it a push, for lack of a better term, where you have your pen and you'll push the ink a little bit until it fills up the channel and pushes the air out. And it just takes a turn, maybe two, to be able to do that. And then just test it on a blank piece of paper until the ink comes out. Not a big deal. All right, now we're going to talk about the Twsbi. This is one of my favorite purchases of this last year, and it's only a $50 pen. So this one also is filled. I filled it with an ink that was too similar to something else, so I do need to re-ink it, which is why it wasn't in my currently inked. But with this one, see, you have the cartridge again where you just submerge it. But this one, instead of having the filler hole be all the way at the top portion here, it is actually this hole here. It works as a two-way channel, as both the air release, so the ink can flow nicely, as well as its feeding portion to get the ink inside. So if you're using like vials of ink like this, it is a little easier because you can more submerge it into the ink with a lower quantity. And that was the purpose of this one. I think they really, really thought this out, and I love everything about this sailor pen. Okay. And this is a Benu. Again, same mechanism inside. Actually, hold on. I usually take the cap off first. So let's do that. It's a little easier that way. And then you just unscrew the body of the pen again. And we will be filling this one actually, so I can show you. And again, same converter. It's already all the way down. Now there is one other way that you can fill these. If you don't have the syringe, your amount of ink is maybe lower or something. It all depends on the length of this syringe here, this portion, because what you can do, and I don't know if I would suggest this for everybody, but I have done it, is that you submerge this portion into your ink and then pull back, and that will again fill this portion. It's a little bit more messy, but if you don't have some of these other tools, it does work. The tension will hold the ink in here, and then you just have to connect it back in just like you would a cartridge. Okay, spoiler portion here, guys. Okay, we're going to fill up the Benu Euphoria. I am going to be filling that with an ink that is in the Colorverse Inkvent calendar. So if you have that calendar and are opening it day by day, this is day 19. So maybe come back after that to see this portion, or skip over this portion. I'll try and make sure there's timestamps down below. I'm going to give you a second. Okay, we're going to go ahead and ink this up. Now, a lot of people like to match their inks to their pens. I try to if I can, but it's not always possible for me. So we're going to ink this up with Colorverse's Milky Way, which, like I said, was day 19. So it's a purple ink with black and blue shimmer, which is exactly the colors that I have on this Benu French Poetry. And so I figured if I was going to do this video, we're going to do it right. So there's our sparkle. So for this one, I am going to rotate it until that sparkle kind of mixes with the rest of the ink. I'm going to try not to shake it because I don't want any bubbles in there, because those would cause little air bubbles in my pen itself. Sometimes I just leave it upside down for a while and let it kind of use gravity to move it, but it doesn't always work the greatest because sometimes you need something to kind of break that glitter up and make it fall. And without the movement of the ink inside, it just doesn't work as well. All right, we're going to go ahead and take the top off. Now, I just took the tip off of my Benu because I realized that, and I'd read this online, I just hadn't filled from these bottles yet. They are the 15 milliliter bottles, but because of the size of the nib and how much needs to be submerged, I could not put it inside the bottle and fill it. I'll show you what that looks like with our sample here, but know that this is an option. And this is what I was saying about you can fill it directly into here. The tension does hold it. I do recommend having something like a paper towel handy to just kind of wipe off any excess on the outside. And then all I'm going to do is I'll push it in. Now, like I said, I am going to kind of push the ink just a little bit. I found this is the best way to make sure it flows really fast. So I think that's plenty. We're going to go ahead and put the body back together. And I have some paper here just to make sure that we're writing. And there we go. All ready to go. So that's our first mechanism. Now let's do the vial here. I'm going to use the Gin House Shark because it's an easy pen to fill and it's empty. And I picked out a purple ink. So this is a Sailor Ink Studio ink. It's $4.35, so just a purple ink. And what we're going to do with this one, so you can see it, because the nib is so much smaller, we're going to submerge it and go ahead and pull back so you can see what that looks like. Now, you will sometimes get an air bubble. I kind of picked it up a little bit, but as you can see, even though there's air here, that ink isn't really moving. So again, when I do this, because there is a little ink left on your nib, always going to happen, I just kind of rotate it. You can use a paper towel. You can use an old t-shirt. I think a lot of people do that one to kind of wipe off the nib. Just reassemble here. And we'll write Happy Holidays again. Oops. So really simple ways to fill. Now there is another mechanism for filling that the Pilot Metropolitan uses. So in them, which I don't have one right here, my daughter has that pen. In those, you have kind of this bag in there that you just squeeze. You squeeze all the air out, you submerge the nib, and then let go, and it pulls it back that way. Those tend to wear out faster than the other mechanisms just because of the materials involved. But I know a lot of people really like them, and that's fine. The other thing that I do not have, so I can't show you, is there are ones that kind of have a push button mechanism to them. And they would be more along the lines of this one where you push it down, submerge, and it'll do its thing there. But I don't own a pen that does that, so I can't show you. I'm sure there's lots of videos out there, though, that somebody has done it for you. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that and that it was helpful. If you have any other questions, just leave them down below. I'd be happy to answer them as best I can. I'm not a fountain pen expert, but I am really enjoying this hobby. If I don't know the answer, I will let you know. So anyhow, that's all I have, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And this month we'll be having videos every day. Some of them will be fountain pen videos. Some of them are planner videos. Some are going to be goal setting videos. It's just going to be everything in that realm. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you tomorrow.